Hey everybody, Troy here, and as you can see, no Steve, Melissa. We know you guys love Melissa. I mean, I love Melissa certainly a lot, sweetheart. I love you
I'm so glad.
a lot, and we know you guys out there love Melissa. And so anyway, Melissa and I are here, and we wanted to take just a few minutes to talk about something that's really important to us, and that is our marriage and marriage in general. And we wanted to talk to you guys today about probably what is our favorite marriage book. We've read a lot of books on marriage, and I know you really love Created for Connection, which is the Christian version of Hold Me Tight, Sue Johnson. But probably our favorite together marriage book is what and why?
So our favorite marriage book is a book by John and Stacey Eldridge called Love and War.
Love and War, and that's an interesting name
Yes.
for a marriage book. Tell us why that's such an awesome book.
So the reason I love this book is because it's not a formula. It's really about getting down to the nitty-gritty of the value of marriage and the fact that marriage is probably the most challenging thing we will do relationally. And so I love it because it doesn't pull any punches about how hard marriage is, but it also gives you a lot of motivation and encouragement to fight for a good marriage, that it's worth it.
And I of course, love it a lot. And Melissa and I stumbled across, actually Melissa, let's give credit where credit's due. Melissa stumbled across this, and this is a devotional for couples based upon Love and War. So the book Love and War is quite a thick read, and like
But
you
an easy
said,
read.
it is. It's an easy read because John and Stacey Eldridge are awesome writers. But I guess like you, I love it because it doesn't lay out this formula. If you'll do A, B, and C, you'll have a perfect marriage. In fact, it tells you that marriage is one of the hardest things, if not the hardest thing you'll ever do in your life. But I love it because it gives hope for the challenges, the very real challenges of marriage. But what I wanted to do to actually for maybe a couple of weeks,
Okay.
today I'd like to just read a little bit from this book just to give folks a feel for this book, Love and War, by John and Stacey Eldridge. And then I'd like to talk for a few minutes today about probably my favorite concept out of this book. And there's a
Okay.
lot of stuff I like about it. And then maybe next week you can talk about your favorite concept out of this book. So let me start by reading. And this is just from the first day of this devotional on Love and War. And the title of this day is Romance Meets Reality. And you know what? I thought this. You know, I think when you and I got married, 28 plus years ago, correct? When you and I got married, we had a lot of expectations around that marriage, all of them glowing and positive and hopeful. And, you know, we really were going to live happily ever after. And
Yeah.
boy, the friggin' honeymoon got interrupted real quick. We almost got divorced as I discovered my wife didn't know how to read a map. My newfound bride, who was supposed to be perfect and everything that I needed, and she didn't know how to read a map, and she didn't know directions. And within the first 48 hours of our honeymoon, I had her in tears.
He was really mean. He
I-
was really, really mean.
I was just frustrated
You were
because you couldn't read a map. Anyway, I digress. Romance meets reality. So here's what John and Stacey say. We probably ought to just start here. Marriage is fabulously hard. Wow, what an incredible statement that
Truly.
is. Maybe that's an odd way to begin, but it is true. And everybody who's been married knows this. Though years into marriage, it still catches us off guard, all of us. And newly married couples, when they discover how hard it really is, they seem genuinely surprised, shocked and disheartened by the fact that marriage is hard. Are we doing something wrong? Perhaps I married the wrong person. The wonders that lure us into marriage, romance, love, passion, sex, longing, companionship, sometimes these seem so far from the actual reality of married life that we wind up fearing we've made a colossal mistake, caught the wrong bus, missed our flight, and so the hardness of marriage can also come as something of an embarrassment. Sweetheart, here's my question for you for starters, but at what point did you realize that marriage was going to be a whole lot harder than you thought it was going to be? I mean, what a catch I was. What an awesome guy that you got hooked up with. But at what point did you realize that this is going to be way harder than I thought it was going to be?
I mean, I think I realized that it was going to be really hard somewhere in our first few months of marriage, when no matter how hard I tried, I couldn't keep you from getting angry or being disappointed, or I couldn't be a good enough wife that you wouldn't have negative feelings.
Right.
And we've talked about this before,
Right.
but I took ownership of that.
Right.
And that's when I realized, oh no, maybe I don't have what it takes to be a good wife. Maybe I'm the failure in this marriage. Maybe I will never measure up.
Right.
What about you?
Well, I hate that you felt that way, because, looking back, you do have what it takes. You're an awesome wife and an awesome companion, and a great gift to me. But, I don't know at what point I realized, because for me, you were supposed to save me. You were supposed to rescue me. And we've talked about this before as well. You were supposed to fix all the things that I felt like were defective and screwed up. And your perfection was going to be the balance to my imperfection and my brokenness. And I guess probably at some point, probably that first year, when I realized that I came to the crushing reality that you weren't perfect, and also the even larger crushing reality that you weren't going to be able to fix me, that your perfection, your goodness wasn't going to be able to overcome my badness. That I realized, hey, this is not going to do what I thought it was going to do. It's not going to fix us, and certainly we're not going to live happily ever after. Interestingly enough, I'll just say this, and this is one of the things I love about Love and War. I never gave up hope. I never gave up hope that we were supposed to be together, and that we really could complement one another, and we really could love one another well. Although at times it was fabulously hard, and I felt hopeless because of my own failure in the midst of that. But
well, I guess it makes sense then that my greatest fear of not measuring up actually made sense, because I wasn't saving you.
Right.
And those were kind of the vibes you were giving off, almost as if it was my fault we weren't okay, that I was somehow the enemy to this marriage succeeding.
Yeah, because again, I think we both had expectations. You had never met a project you couldn't fix. You never met a mess that you couldn't clean up. Mm-hmm. And I had never met a woman as perfect and as beautiful as you, and I had this belief that if only I could be with someone like you, it would fix all the things that were wrong with me. But yeah, very quickly, it's really sad when the person you love the most, the person you trust the most, the person you're in this marriage relationship with, and all of a sudden you have these thoughts that they're the problem, or worse yet, they're the enemy. And that gets me to my, next week I want to hear your favorite part. But my favorite part of this book, and there's a lot of favorite pieces of Love and War, but I think the part that resonates with me the most is the, in fact, I'll just, the title of the chapter even. The title is Your Spouse is Not the Enemy. Now, here's my question for you, Melissa. Have you ever felt as if I was treating you like you were my
absolutely.
enemy?
Absolutely. Many times.
At the risk of everyone realizing really what a jerk I am, what did that feel like in marriage, where you're supposed to be loved and cherished and treasured? What did that feel like when all of a sudden I'm looking at you as my enemy?
So, it feels like attack. It feels threatening and sometimes scary. For you, when you have an enemy, you get angry, right? So the anger could be overwhelming, and I would feel unloved and certainly not cherished, and often anxious because you were big and fluffy, or it felt like there was no forgiveness or grace for me being human or not being perfect. So definitely, it felt like you were seeing me as a threat and not a helpmate.
Right. Well, and here's the interesting thing. I mean, for those of you that know Melissa well, you know that Melissa is one of the sweetest, kindest, gentlest, most loving persons you could ever meet. And it's crazy to think at any point I could assume that you were my enemy, that you were against me. But that's how twisted up our hearts can get, and how in marriage it's so easy to make the wrong assumption that the enemy of your marriage, make no mistake, John Eldredge and Stacey Eldredge say your marriage has an enemy, but it's not your spouse. It is the devil. Scripture even tells us this. Scripture says in 1 Peter 5:8, it says, stay alert, pay attention. Watch out, your great enemy, the devil, prowls around like a roaring lion looking for someone to devour. We have an enemy. Our marriage has an enemy, but your spouse is not that enemy. And for me, I would get so frustrated at myself, but frustrated at you. My frustration with you was that you weren't fixing me. And then that I have all these false beliefs. I have so many false beliefs about myself, and those false beliefs I would project onto you. And I would assume that you felt the same way about me that I felt about me. And I would assume, you simply asking a question to me, you're asking a genuine, honest question that anyone in a marriage would ask. And yet my interpretation is you're criticizing me, or you're attacking me because you think I'm screwed up. And you never thought those things. It's this filter, these false beliefs that everything that you say and everything in our relationship gets filtered through, and all of a sudden those false beliefs push me around, and all of a sudden I'm looking at you as the enemy. And when Love and War helps me, reminds me that marriage is hard, marriage has an enemy. That's part of what makes it hard. But your spouse is not the enemy. That to me helps me then refocus my fight and my attention. And now instead of muttering under my breath that you, my enemy, would change, now together we can fight against the real enemy of our marriage. And we can instead of attacking one another, we can fight the enemy of our marriage. And recently I was talking to a friend, and I ended up saying this. This was like, and in fact, my friend said this should be a bumper sticker. But basically the gist of what I said was, fight the lies, not your spouse. Because so often those lies that we believe cause us to see our spouse as the enemy, and we end up fighting with our spouse. When our spouse is not the enemy, and if we will fight, we do need to fight, but we need to fight the lies that we believe that push us towards believing things about our spouse that aren't true. There's an enemy. That enemy needs to be fought. There are lies that I believe, and those lies need to be fought. But our spouse is not our enemy. True?
Absolutely. And, there is the ultimate liar, right? Satan is a liar, and he uses our fears to convince us often that we're in danger when really we're not. Wow.
Danger, and we misperceive that danger, or we misperceive the source of that danger. You're not a danger to me. You're a help to me. You're a blessing to me.
Can I get that in writing, signed in blood?
I'm actually putting it on a video, so you can go to YouTube and watch this. And,
so pull that up, honey.
So here's the thing, sweetheart. What I'd like to do is next week I'd like to hear your favorite part of this book. And in the meantime, let me encourage you guys out there. Recognize if you're in a relationship, especially a marriage relationship, recognize it's going to be hard. And if it's hard, that doesn't mean you're doing anything wrong. That just means it is what it is. And make sure that you're fighting the right fight, that you're fighting the right enemy. You have an enemy opposing your marriage. It is not your spouse. It is the devil. So fight together against the enemy and fight the lies. Don't fight one another. Next week, we'll dig a little bit more into love and war, and we'll hear Melissa's favorite part of the book, and then we'll see kind of where things go. But in the meantime, go below us and like or share this video. Share it on Facebook, share it on Twitter, share it wherever you can share it. We would love for others to be able to hear about our journey. And we just want you to know how grateful we are for you and your prayers and your faithfulness to be a partner with us here at HopeQuest makes all the difference. We look forward to seeing you next week. And until then, don't believe the lies. Don't fight your spouse. See you later.